What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Grind Force Gaming. Nova here, and today's video is, you guessed it, another Street Fighter Duel tutorial. This is going to be a walkthrough of the Trial Grounds level Abandoned Wastelands. I already made it to the end once, and I decided that I should back up, exit it, and try it over again just so I could record it. And the reason is because there's a box puzzle in it that's a little bit more difficult than normal. I'm using Chun-Li, Elena, Combat Guile, and M. Bison primarily for this. And I have Cammy and Dulcime as my assisting units. My gear right now is actually looking quite nice. You can see I've got a lot of red, and I've been picking this up from the Shadaloo City shop. I even got an engraving from one of them, which I put on Elena. That's a ton of stat boost there. Definitely keep an eye out for those in the shop when they start to populate for you. And I've even got good gear on my assisting fighters. Bison is one that I would like to make note of here. I know that it's not easy to get him at the start, but eventually you are going to unlock the divination here, and then it becomes quite easy to get him. You can pick a specific fighter, and for 5,000 gems, you can do a 10x draw, and you have a pretty high chance of getting the chosen fighter. I've even gotten 2 Bisons in a 10 draw before, so it is a little bit easier to get him once you get to that point and you unlock the divination. If you do need help leveling your fighters, if you're having some trouble passing some things, I definitely recommend taking a look here at the Fighter XP in the exchange tent. You can use your Taro Essence to pick that up. Now, I don't think that the long play here is to use it in that way. You're probably better off getting one of the featured fighters if you save them up high enough. You can get Rose or Jury. But I would say that there is something to making sure that you're adequately leveled, and the breakstones are definitely a massive value. This is going to be the bottleneck for you at some point. You're going to have a hard time leveling up your fighters. So let's jump into it here. I did speed up this portion of it just to kind of get things moving for you. You can obviously feel free to pause at any time. I didn't speed it up so fast that you can't see what I'm picking here as my boosts, but I did speed it up enough that you're not going to have to wait forever for me to get to the point here. Most of these fights are actually quite simple, and the early box puzzles are not that difficult to do at all. But if you copy what I'm doing here, then you'll have no issue making your way through it. I don't necessarily recall where all of the little chests were hidden, but I think that this route will get you all of them for sure. And if not, you can modify it just a little bit to pick one up. So coming up here is when things start to get a little bit more difficult, and I do slow it down in a moment because we have one fight here coming up that is definitely worth noting because it's more difficult. I made sure to focus on crit damage, defense, and just speed overall, because there's a battle coming up here, and it has one of it's like one of the boss nodes, a mini pre-boss to the final. And it comes up here after these two. They have an Abel in the front line, and it makes it quite difficult. It took, to be honest with you, I think it took me probably 10 tries to get the RNG right to where I could finish this specific fight here without losing anyone from my primary lineup. And it was a little frustrating, but overall, that's kind of how things go here. They can't just hand you everything. There's going to be some difficult battles, but I was quite surprised to find this happen at this stage. I wasn't really prepared, I don't think, for this fight to be so difficult. And that's why I definitely recommend stacking up on your crit damage and your speed. As you can see here, I did back out. A little tip for you guys here. If you are taking a lot of damage or you happen to lose one of your fighters during one of the battles, if you exit out of it, it will be like you never attempted the fight. You'll get them back to the health that they were at right when you started it, and you can make another attempt and hope that you have better RNG in your favor. So whether that means a higher crit rate or just better speed, or maybe they just aren't able to get their skills off fast enough that you have an easier time nuking the team. So definitely keep that in mind. Have your finger just hovering over the button there just in case you need to do so. I ended up beating it, obviously. And now we can move on to the puzzle box situation that had me a little bit, or the box puzzle that had me a little bit confused. You actually have to move one of the boxes around quite a bit to get it onto the grass square here. But once I figured it out, it wasn't too difficult, of course, but it took me a bit. So I wanted to make this easier for you guys if you are struggling for it, because these do take a lot of time. And if you make a mistake, it can sometimes mean having to start this over completely. All right, so here we go. As you can see, it's a lot of moving around, a lot of just setting things up and getting organized for it, but ultimately, that's all it takes. And that unlocks the very end boss fight, and you're going to have to move your way from here all the way back around the same way that you came, which is actually going to involve you doing a small box puzzle here just to make your way back, which isn't too difficult. You're just going to move 2 boxes over, and that allows you to get yourself lined up to make it back. Now, at the end of this, the fight is not too difficult. Actually, I think that the Abel fight that happened already was much more difficult than this one. And I do slow it down here to let you watch the battles here so you can kind of know what to expect. The matchup that I have works quite well. I think that the additional crit damage is definitely needed because you need to try to take out all the other fighters as quickly as possible so that you don't have to deal with Bison doing his passive too often, which happens if you deal him enough damage that would take him out. He just comes back, gives himself a 40% health boost, and he deals AoE damage to everyone. So it might take a few tries to make it through, but overall it wasn't too bad. I think I only played this maybe 3 or 4 times before I got the RNG that allowed me to pass through it. But again, in this circumstance, you don't need to have all of your fighters make it through the fight anyway, because this is the last one. You're just going to exit after this and move on in the game. So here you can see every now and again they have like this nuking moment where they'll just wipe the entire team. But overall, it's not too difficult. Like I said, I found this one much more easy to pass than the previous one for sure. I honestly thought during this run I was going to have to reset it during the Abel fight and start over and try to build more crit or something because I was just having a really tough time. There's so much defense boosting going on. And I think that this is the one where I make it through. Yeah, that should be it. Unfortunately, I didn't time the knockout there to have Chun-Li go down right before Bison. Otherwise, it would have been over a little bit sooner. You can see it takes a little while. The time's about to run out here on this one. I only had like 11 or 12 seconds left before it was going to time out, and I would have lost. So definitely keep that in mind too. You don't want to time out because then you will lose those fighters. All right, so there it is. Not too bad, right? I hope that this helps you guys pass this a lot easier, and I hope that you don't struggle with the box puzzle as much as I did. And definitely I hope that you don't struggle so much with the Abel fight because that was very aggravating. If you do like the Street Fighter Duel videos that we've been doing here at Grind Force Gaming, please hit the subscribe button, throw a like on the video, and comment as well. We've got more videos coming, and we can't wait to share more of the game with you guys.